Hi, everybody. This is Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. It is Wednesday, August 13th, 2025. This is an update for the All Hazards Consortium Sensitive Information Sharing Environment, where we share information across platforms so we can keep everybody updated on the threats that are moving our way, at least environmentally. Today, we're going to be talking about Tropical Storm Erin, which is looking better organized today than it was yesterday. I had mentioned quite a few times, I think, that Erin was moving through a very stressed environment, including Saharan dust. I'm going to show you that on the satellite picture here in just a minute. And we're going to keep this update strictly for Tropical Storm Erin. There's quite a bit to talk about. And if anything else major happens, we'll do another update or we'll include it in tomorrow's update. But I know a lot of people who have been contacting me have said they're very concerned either throughout the Caribbean or in the southeast United States about this storm. And I know when you've been through a hurricane, and one as devastating as perhaps Hurricane Milton last year or Hurricane Helene, where cleanup is going to be happening for a long, long time, especially in western North Carolina. We want to give you the real information, what we know, what we don't know, and what is going to continue to be monitored. Good news is today we had some Hurricane Hunter aircraft on their way to Barbados. I'll show you that as well. But here is what Erin looks like. Let me take it full screen and show you what we can talk about here over the next couple of minutes or so. Erin is looking better since this time yesterday. And I want to point out some things here with the draw tool. Look at this sort of dirty looking air right here. This is Saharan dust, and some of it was getting entrained into Erin yesterday. It looks like as Erin wraps up a little bit better, it's going to create its own little bubble of protection, if you will, but you can also see some Saharan dust here as well. Look at that sort of milky area. That is Saharan dust, and it does circle the Earth. It does tend to thwart tropical development. And Erin has stayed to the south of where that Saharan dust has been. Although yesterday it did entrain some of that and some dry air. Okay, well, it is looking more mature right now. As a matter of fact, we do have the 1 minute satellite imagery because I want to zoom in right on Erin so you can see what it looks like here. And there we go. Look at that. Wow. This is a 1 minute satellite imagery from the GOES high resolution satellite. This is from the ABI sensor. And the Weather Service and NOAA, they can select two sectors around the area field of view of the satellite to focus in on to give us 1 minute imagery. Well, Erin is one of those targets today, and we can see a couple of very interesting features. And I'm going to change the color over here to blue just so you can see it a little bit better. But look at these waves coming out like this in the cirrus field. See that? That is showing that we have some more mature outflow from this storm. You can see the cirrus clouds. These are the edge of the cirrus clouds moving this way. And it's taking on more of a spherical structure. That is showing that at least the outflow is getting more mature. The surface low pressure system and the mid-level low pressure system are starting to line up, which means the conditions are being set, the stage is being set for Erin to increase in intensity a little bit more rapidly than it had been yesterday. Now, I also want to show you, look at these waves, these concentric waves here coming out of the hurricane like this. These are gravity waves, and those gravity waves are caused by strong thunderstorms with their updrafts hitting the cap, the stratosphere, and spreading out. And so you can see those coming out in waves over here. So that's another indication that the storm is increasing in intensity. Now, what's this dark area over here? This is just parts of shadows as these storms get taller. They're throwing shadows this way as the sun starts to set out in the Atlantic. And then you can see, look at this over here. These are high cirrus clouds moving out this way, while the little dots down there, they are cumulus clouds at the surface. Well, maybe about 4,000 or 5,000 feet up, but they're moving in this direction. And that shows here, you can see that moving over here, these clouds moving over here. So we're getting a very good defined low pressure system circulation happening that we can see in the satellite imagery. Let me move this a little bit further to the south here, because we're seeing thunderstorm activity up in this area. That will eventually develop into spiral feeder bands. It's starting to do that. And then you can see, look at this one. This is a very intense thunderstorm developing out of this feeder band here. And as these continue to do that, it will start to close the system with thunderstorm activity. And what we watch really closely is for any eye to develop. Now, it still has just 50 mile per hour winds. And before I bring on the stats here, I'm going to add an overlay where the strongest thunderstorms are, and we're going to watch these. So look at this. This is an overlay of infrared data along with the visible data. And I'm going to highlight the infrared just a little bit more, but now I want to see more of the visible clouds through it. So I'm varying the transparency of this enhancement, you can see, and so we can see where the strongest thunderstorms are located. And indeed, it's where those circular gravity waves were coming out. So this is just some powerful stuff that we can do with this satellite data that helps us to understand more about what's going on with Erin. And so now I want to take this over and shift it just to the left here. I'm going to turn off. Well, I'll keep the enhancement on right now. I just want to take a look at the latest information. Tropical Storm Erin, as of 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, that's just about 11 minutes ago, is strengthening as it moves westward. Here's the latest information from the National Hurricane Center. The location is about 1,200 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands. 1,200 miles east of the northern Leeward Islands. Okay, so we have time, but now is the time in the northern Leeward Islands to make sure you know what you're going to do should you experience tropical storm and or hurricane force winds. Do you have your plan together? Do you have enough water? Do you have transportation if you need to get away from the immediate coastline and get to higher ground? Think about that stuff. Batteries. What kind of clothing do you need to pack if you need to evacuate if Erin moves close enough to do so? Maximum sustained winds, 50 miles per hour. The latitude and longitude is located at 16.3 north, 45.0 west. And on this image, I will turn on the latitude and longitude lines just so you can see them and what it looks like here. So 16.3 north, 45.0 west. The minimum central pressure of 1,001 millibars. Not too low, but it's getting lower. It's lower than it was yesterday, and we can tell it's much more organized than it was yesterday. There were no thunderstorms associated with it yesterday, just a lot of low circulating clouds. The movement is west at 17 miles per hour, so it has slowed down a little bit. That's going to help it continue to gather its energy. And as it moves to the west, it's also going to encounter, I'm going to show just the full satellite here and widen out. It's going to encounter higher sea surface temperatures. I'm going to turn that on here, the sea surface temperatures. Here we go. This is the GOES high resolution sea surface temperature data. And notice something. Notice here that we're seeing these greens here. This is sort of like cooler sea surface temperatures right down in here. That is really not helping to feed any growing storms. But notice there's a warm tongue of warmer temperatures coming up here, which may be contributing and helping Erin to intensify somewhat, but also it is moving in this direction. And as it moves in this direction, the sea surface temperatures get much warmer. And as it moves in this direction, we can see it getting very warm. So the National Hurricane Center is thinking that when it encounters this warmer water and shear is even less, that Erin will not only become a hurricane here in the next day or two, but become a major hurricane in the next 3 days or perhaps 4 days. So all eyes need to be kept on Erin in this area right in here for potential impacts. These are the central and northern Lesser Antilles, Leeward Islands here, the British Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. See a little thunderstorm there popping up on the western side of the island. That is not associated with Erin. Erin is still very far away, but gathering strength. Okay. The other thing that I want to show you is another area of potential development. And I'm going to move this over to the west and show you the Gulf and also this batch of clouds here over the Yucatan. Remember yesterday we talked about those clouds down here that were kind of blowing up, and we said, yeah, it looks like a bunch of thunderstorms, but the Hurricane Center has not really pegged it as something that they're very interested in yet. Well, today they did. They did peg this as an area of suspicious activity that may develop into a tropical cyclone in this area. The Southern Gulf, it's also called the Bay of Campeche, and so much so they're calling for the U.S. Air Force Reserve Unit to go and investigate this area during the next day or two. And they're going to do that as this batch of clouds moves off to the west. So we're monitoring this one, and we're obviously monitoring Tropical Storm Erin. So I'll widen out here right there. So you can see the Terminator line approaching. It's about to turn into nighttime there over Erin. Let's get a little bit closer here and just see if we can see any of the shadows of the storms popping up. I'm going to turn off the infrared enhancement, and you can see I'm going to reload this and get the latest imagery from the storm. So here we go. Now you can see things starting to get a little dark, and look at that. Look at that pop right in here. These are shadows from these thunderstorms because the sun is going down, and this part of the imagery over here is turning to infrared while this side is visible. So the visible is what we can see from the reflection of the sun, and then we can see those towering thunderstorms popping up right around the center of Erin. And since the Hurricane Center, I'll put these stats on there one more time, since they identified the center as 16.3 north, 45.0 west, that's about right here. So that's where the strong thunderstorms are. So this is around the center of the storm, which is also showing the strongest thunderstorms, which tells me that this is on a track now to slowly intensify. And that's why we're going to be watching this very, very closely. Now, here's something else I want to show you, because the Hurricane Hunter aircraft are on their way down to Barbados right now. One of them has landed already. This is Miss Piggy. This is called N43 RF. This is the NOAA P3 that is going to be operating out of Barbados for the next couple of days at least, so they can fly missions from Barbados out into the storm and gather more data. This is really critical and something that we need to happen so we can get more data and information into the hurricane forecast models to help make them more accurate. Hurricane Center has indicated there's a lot of uncertainty out there beyond the second day as to where this storm is going to go and how strong it's going to be. So it's really critical for these airplanes to get down there. And look at this. Flying right now is also Kermit. Kermit is N42 RF, the NOAA Hurricane Hunter aircraft. the P3. And look at this. It's now approaching Barbados. It's following the same approach and flight track that the other P3 took, and it will be landing in Barbados. One other airplane is also going to be arriving, and that is the G4, the Gulfstream 4 aircraft that's going to be departing, I believe, tomorrow to go to Barbados. So this is going to be the area of operation right here in Barbados. And it's really important that we continue to monitor the storm. We're going to be able to track them live as well, and that's great news. So this right here is the Hurricane Hunter aircraft in flight right now at 5:20 p.m. Eastern Time. They're making away, and this updates every several minutes, so we'll see the plane move down here. But at the same time, they're going to need to rest, and tomorrow they will start to fly their missions into the storm. And we will also show you those flight tracks as soon as we can get them into GeoCollaborate, which is really exciting. That's going to be something that will be really good to show you the patterns that they want to fly and how they're going to gather this data into GeoCollaborate and into the weather forecast models. So you can see here, as I scroll down, this is the probability of tropical storm force winds. And I know I'll zoom out just a little bit more to show you here. This is the probability of tropical storm force winds through the forecast period up until Sunday around 8 p.m. This is the forecast track in about the middle here. There's the cone of uncertainty in there, but we're kind of minimizing that use this year because what's really important are the impacts of the winds. And look where that extends now. So even San Juan, Puerto Rico, you're in an increasing probability that you may experience tropical storm force winds by Saturday, 8 p.m., between 8 p.m. and midnight on Saturday. Now, as Erin strengthens, the wind field is likely to expand as well. So we're going to have to watch this very closely for how much it stays, how long it stays on that southern track before it curves more to the northwest, and then hopefully to the north and misses the United States. We also have some other interesting things going on here. I'm going to switch over here to this instance of GeoCollaborate and show you something of high interest. Remember yesterday I talked about a group of students and professors and professionals from the RV Cape Hatteras ship that departed today out of Wilmington, North Carolina. Let's zoom in here. They're making their way out here into the Atlantic. And one of the things they're going to do, amongst other research, is deploy wave spectral drifters. These are basically buoys that float in the ocean and are going to measure waves and how high the waves are. Once they drop them, they're going to start floating away in the Gulf Stream, and you'll see that show up here in GeoCollaborate as they start to disperse. But they haven't dropped these yet, and here's the information box here. Planned drifter deployment from the RV Cape Hatteras from August 14th to the 17th. And this is really spectacular timing, even though this mission, this cruise was scheduled a long time ago. That these buoys are going to play a critical role in informing emergency managers and the National Weather Service on their wave and inundation models as the storm moves up, hopefully between the United States and Bermuda. And so this is really fortuitous. We're going to be monitoring these buoys. The other cool thing is, as soon as these buoys hit the water, when they deploy them off the ship, in about 20 minutes later, they will start reporting data into GeoCollaborate. So you're going to want to come back and see what these buoys are showing. And these students really doing a terrific job. What was once a research mission has really also morphed into a critical operational mission. And this is one that they certainly will talk about for a very long time. Their plan to get back in plenty of time before the storm gets up in this area. So don't worry about their safety and interacting with the storm. They may start to feel the swells as it gets up a little bit closer, but it looks like they'll have plenty of time to get back in to Wilmington. Okay, widening out just a little bit more, I want to show you this area of potential development that the Hurricane Center has identified. That's this area, this yellow X. And you can see here, the probability is low, but this system could turn and eventually impact places like South Texas or the northern Mexican coast. So that's why it's worth getting more data on this system to put into those models, because we don't want to have a rapid spin up of a hurricane or tropical storm moving towards Brownsville, Texas, and not get as much data as we could possibly get from these recon missions. But this is just updated here while we're doing this update. This is now the probability from the 5 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center of tropical storm force winds. And the probability is very high in this red area and the orange area. So let's zoom in a little bit and see where that might impact. Okay, so we're talking about perhaps not quite St. John's, not quite San Juan, but it's getting closer. This is what we're going to want to watch. This is San Juan and Puerto Rico right here. This is Antigua and Barbuda here, St. John's, Guadalupe, Dominica to the south. We're going to want to watch these orange, yellow, and orange colors, which are higher probabilities, to see if they're moving closer to the islands. Now, here's my advice. If you are working in the islands, if you're working in any marine protected areas, if you're taking care of dolphins or you're working with any marine mammals, make sure you're looking at your plan right now and determine a time where you're going to execute that plan. It currently looks like it's not going to be a direct hit, but there is uncertainty in this forecast, which means the storm could increase in size. It could move a little bit further to the west. Then all of a sudden, you're in the higher probability for those strong winds. So make sure you're looking at your plan seriously and you determine what parts of that plan you want to execute as the days move forward. I've superimposed on here when the arrival of tropical storm force winds is most likely from the National Hurricane Center. And right here through Antigua and Barbuda, we're talking about Saturday at 8 in the morning. Saturday at 8 in the morning, and then those winds spreading to the west. And so by Saturday at 8 p.m., we're talking about approaching Vieques and St. Thomas and St. Croix. So that is the timeline you should be thinking about. These forecasts update every 6 hours from the National Hurricane Center. So in GeoCollaborate here, this will update in real time as soon as the Hurricane Center updates their forecast. And that is something that we're going to want to watch because this circle that I identified right here, let me move this a little bit further to the north. This circle right here is the area of tropical storm force winds right now. But as the storm intensifies, we'll see this get larger, and we'll also see a storm force wind contour evolve, and then a hurricane force contour evolve once the storm becomes a hurricane. So this is now becoming a little bit more defined. You see, we made the time a little bit more clear for you. Saturday at 8 a.m. here, Saturday 8 p.m., Sunday at 8 a.m. coming through San Juan and Puerto Rico. So probably between around midnight Saturday in Puerto Rico. If this holds, if this track shifts to the south at all, then we're talking about a higher level of alert. You really need to start executing your plans for either evacuation, getting your supplies, boarding up, things like that. You don't need to do that yet. National Hurricane Center won't issue a hurricane watch until 36 hours before hurricane conditions are expected. But you can see the overall forecast is for this storm to turn towards the northwest and then the north to recurve. And that is a good projection to keep Florida and Georgia and South Carolina out of the picture. But we have to keep monitoring this. Meanwhile, on the mainland in the United States, we're having thunderstorm activity blossom from all up and down the East Coast with severe thunderstorm warnings and also flash flood warnings in the Washington, D.C. area. This area is a high likelihood that we'll see flooding rains or excessive rains over the next 1 to 3 days. It's been very hot, very humid. Eastern Maine, southern Canada, the East Coast has been very warm and humid during the day today, and that is fueling showers and thunderstorms. I can take a quick look. We'll take a quick look here at the National Weather Service's Doppler weather radar, and that is here out of Sterling, Virginia. And you can see some big thunderstorms that are moving here with a special marine warning issued around Baltimore Harbor for these storms that are blossoming quite quickly. And then in Washington, D.C., a flash flood warning has been issued, and that is for places like Langley, out to the west of Washington, towards McLean, Tyson's Corner, places like that, where very heavy rain has created flooding. And then to the south, there's some more thunderstorms that are blossoming as well in this very humid air. And even further south, there's quite a bit of thunderstorm activity through the southern part of the Potomac River over here, and then heading into Washington, D.C. So we have a lot of unstable air on the East Coast. I'll switch back to GeoCollaborate here, full screen. That's causing these potential for excessive rainfall and local floods. It exists too in southern Alabama, also in northeastern Texas, where you see these areas. But the whole green area means there is some chance that strong thunderstorms could drop very heavy rain. One other thing I want to show you before I call it for today is the goes west view towards the Gulf and the Earth's limb. You know, the Earth is spherical, so we can't see all the way to the end because there's no end to a sphere. But what you can see is something very interesting. I'll point it out. Here is that area of disturbed weather just coming over the Yucatan. Here's the Bay of Campeche, so this is where the Air Force Reserve units will be flying. And all the way over here, here's Cuba, here's Florida. Look at this. I can move this and we can't even see. Here's Puerto Rico, and here's the right on the edge of the limb, the Lesser Antilles. We can't even see Tropical Storm Erin. The Goes West satellite can't see it. That's why we're very thankful for this one, the Goes East satellite. So we not only can see right here over the Yucatan, but we can see over to the Atlantic and Tropical Storm Erin. One other thing I want to point out as I zoom really close in here to the current location of Tropical Storm Erin, and you can see this at 5 o'clock, 50 mile per hour winds with gusts to 65. And this is, again, just an estimate because there are no land masses there to take observations, but we do have ocean observing systems. And look at this. Here is a drifter, an SVPB drifter, that this storm passed over a little while ago. The atmospheric pressure right now is 1,011 millibars. But look, we can take a look at the sea surface temperature and the atmospheric pressure. Look, as Erin approached, how the pressure dropped rapidly, and it went all the way down to about 1,005 millibars or so. And the National Hurricane Center is estimating the pressure, I believe it said 1,001 millibars in the 5 p.m. advisory. Let's take a look at that real quickly once again. Yeah, 1,001 millibars. So it is going down, but this buoy, this drifter that I'm pointing out right here really helped the National Hurricane Center to take that pressure down, and looking at satellite imagery. There are other drifters out here that we can see sea surface temperature and atmospheric pressure, and you can see that just going down and down and down as the general low pressure system approached. Now look, there are some Argo floats here that are going to report next tomorrow. Look at this one. This is pretty exciting. This Argo float that is probably down about 500 meters that is going to be rising up to the surface tomorrow, or early in the morning tomorrow, is going to beam out a report. So we'll take a look at that data during tomorrow's update and see what it looks like. Here's another Argo float that's going to report on the 19th. So that storm, it's really deep right now in the ocean, or even sinking further to take measurements. The storm will have bypassed this Argo float, but this is good information as well, so we can see what happens under the ocean when this tropical storm moves over this area. So we have other drifters that are in the path, and we can see what's going on. These are sea surface temperatures, and look at that. They're going up in this area. Here's another drifter, and this one is reporting sea surface temperature, 82-degree sea surface temperature. See how it's getting warmer? That means the storm is going to have much more heat content to pull from in its engine to power its engine. So that's what we're watching, and this has some spurious sea surface temperature reports for that one. But this is the way it looks. I'm going to go follow this path here. We're going to take a look at the forecast from the National Hurricane Center. Right here, they have it as a hurricane north of Antigua and Barbuda. There we go. This is the 72-hour forecast showing winds of 130 miles per hour. So this is 110 miles per hour with gusts to 130. So this is still a Category 2 hurricane, 1 mile per hour less than a Category 3. But it's expected to be right here at 2 p.m. on the 16th. So in 3 days. That's Saturday the 16th. But by the next forecast period at 2 p.m. the 17th, Sunday, it's expected to be a major hurricane. That's north of Puerto Rico. It's going to be driving a lot of wave action between this time into Puerto Rico and into the Lesser Antilles, the northern Leeward Islands. So prepare for that. But the forecast is still for Erin to become a major hurricane and continue its major hurricane status with winds of 120 miles per hour forecast, and that is on Monday, the 18th. Okay, so that's it for this update. We're going to be monitoring Tropical Storm Erin very closely. We're also monitoring that potential area of development around the Bay of Campeche, even though the probability is low. We're going to monitor it. Air Force Hurricane Hunter aircraft are going to be out there to investigate that area. And we're going to be watching this very closely with 1-minute visible and infrared satellite imagery from the NOAA aircraft. And we're going to be monitoring the Hurricane Hunter aircraft as they fly in and around Tropical Storm Erin. If you know any pilots, you know anybody that works for the National Weather Service, you know any scientists, give them a big hug and a thank you, because this is where science saves lives. Please take care of yourself and take care of your neighbors. They really do appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow with another update on Tropical Storm Erin. This has been an update for the All Hazards Consortium and the Sensitive Information Sharing Environment. We'll see you tomorrow.